For decades, Andre Rieu filled concert halls with music that felt like magic, a violinist who could turn silence into symphonies. But then, he vanished quietly. Suddenly, without warning, fans whispered rumors. Critics guessed guized health, heartbreak, or something far deeper than anyone imagined. Because when a man who lived through music falls silent, the world notices. Now, hidden truths begin to surface. The struggle he fought, the pressure he carried. And the moment everything changed, this is the real story behind Andre Rieu's disappearance, a story the spotlight never showed. He sold over 40 million albums, performed for millions of people across the globe, built an empire on the very music critics said nobody wanted anymore. But behind the fairy tale castles and sold-out stadiums, there's a story most people don't know. A story of childhood wounds that never quite healed. Of parents who couldn't celebrate their son's success. Of a man who turned rejection into the biggest classical music phenomenon the world has ever seen. This is what really happened to Andre Rieu, October 1st, 1949. Maastricht, Netherlands. A boy is born into what should have been a musical paradise. Andre Leon Marie Nicolas Rieu, the third of 6 children. His father, Andreas Antoni Rieu, was the conductor of the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra. Imagine growing up in that house. The sound of symphonies echoing through the hallways. Chamber music at dinner. Opera on Sunday afternoons. But here's what nobody tells you about growing up in the shadow of perfection. It's suffocating. At 5 years old, little Andre was handed a violin. Not asked if he wanted one. Handed one. His father decided. His mother agreed. The violin would suit him best. They said, and so began a childhood defined by expectation Andre would later remember. Those early lessons with a bittersweet smile. His first violin teacher was beautiful and blonde, and he'd fall so deeply in love with her that he'd forget to listen to her instructions. Just stare. Just dream. But at home, there was no room for dreaming. No room for mistakes. His parents were strict. Impossibly strict. The kind of strict that makes you feel like you're never quite good enough. Like success is always just out of reach, dangling there. Mocking you. Young Andre would watch his father conduct that massive orchestra. All those bows moving in perfect synchronicity. The power of it. The beauty of it. It was magical, but he also noticed something else. Something that would haunt him for decades. The audiences looked miserable. Everyone sat rigid in their seats. You couldn't cough. Couldn't laugh. Couldn't move. Classical music had become this sacred, untouchable thing. This elitist ceremony where joy was somehow inappropriate. Even as a child, Andre couldn't understand it. The music felt so alive, so full of emotion. Why did everyone look like they were attending a funeral? That question would change everything. He studied hard. Conservatoire Royal in Liege. Conservatory Maastricht. Then Brussels, where he trained with André Gertler at the Music Academy. 1977. He graduated from the Royal Conservatory of Brussels with the highest distinction. Premier Prix. His father should have been proud. Should have thrown a celebration. Should have acknowledged that his son had achieved what so few musicians ever achieve. But instead, silence, because by then, Andre had made a choice that his father could never forgive. While studying at the Music Academy, someone asked Andre to play in a salon orchestra. It was there, in that moment, that he heard it. The waltz that would change his life. Gold and Silver by Franz Lehár. 3/4 time. That rhythmic heartbeat. That irresistible pulse. He was spellbound. Completely, utterly spellbound. This wasn't the stuffy, serious classical music he'd grown up with. This was alive. This was joyful. This was what music was supposed to feel like. But when his father found out, the man was outraged. I didn't educate you to do waltzes." Those words cut deep, deeper than any critic's review ever would. Your own father. The man who taught you music. The man who should have understood, telling you that your dreams weren't good enough. That waltzes weren't real music. That you were wasting your talent. So Andre made a choice that would cost him everything. And give him everything. He walked away. 1975. The same year he graduated. Andre married Marjorie Kochman. She was a language teacher. Smart, talented, and completely supportive of her husband's wild, impossible dream. When Andre brought Marjorie home for the first time, introducing her as his bride-to-be, his mother did something unthinkable. She sent Marjorie home. Told her son to go clean his room. Like he was still a child. Like his choices didn't matter. The bond with his parents was shattered. Forever, neither his mother nor his father ever attended a single one of his concerts. Not one. Not even when he became one of the biggest touring artists in the world. Not even when stadiums sold out in minutes. Not even when he proved everyone wrong. They never came. For 4 years. Andre went to therapy, trying to process the childhood trauma. Trying to understand why the two people who should have celebrated him the most couldn't find it in themselves to be happy for him. My parents couldn't cope with me being happy, he would later admit. They were jealous. Jealous. Of their own son. It's a wound that never quite heals. But Marjorie believed in him. And that belief was everything. In 1987, with just 12 musicians, Andre founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra. They gave their first concert on January 1st, 1980-8. Nobody came. Well, almost nobody. Marjorie worked behind the scenes. She called theaters, handled the mail, chose the repertoire, dealt with theater directors who refused to take her husband seriously, who laughed at the idea of a waltz orchestra in the modern age. Waltzes? You want to book concerts for waltzes? Who wants to hear that old-fashioned nonsense? But here's something most people don't know. Marjorie's father, Edgar Kochman, played a crucial role in Andre's success. Edgar was Jewish. He'd fled Berlin in the 1930s, escaping the rising darkness, bringing with him only one possession. His extensive record collection, waltzes, operettas, the music of Vienna. The music everyone said was dead. When Marjorie introduced Andre to her father's collection, something clicked. These weren't just old songs. This was magic, waiting to be rediscovered. This was joy that the world had forgotten. Andre took those melodies and polished them, made them his own. Created something that felt both timeless and completely new. The breakthrough came in the most unexpected place. 1995. Champions League semi-final. Ajax versus Bayern Munich. Halftime, Andre and his orchestra performed Shostakovich's The Second Waltz in front of 50,000 football fans. People who'd probably never been to a classical concert in their lives, and something incredible happened. They swayed. They hummed along. They smiled. Some even cried. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, who was this guy making classical music feel like a party? From there, it exploded. His 1994 album From Holland with Love stayed in the Dutch top 10 for over a year. Then came international tours, Australia, Japan, Brazil, America. By 2008. He'd achieved his 100th platinum accreditation in Australia alone. In just 5 years, between 2006 and 2011, sold over $50 million worth of CDs and DVDs in Australia. The highest-selling music artist in the Australian market during that period. Not just classical artist. Music artist, outselling everyone. But success brought something Andre never expected. Hatred. Critics came for him with knives out. They called his music saccharine fodder. Commodified. Classical music. The acme of everything. Wrong with Modern Culture 1. Reviewer described his stage presence as merely blarney and delegation. Another said his concerts felt like a 2-hour running gag punctuated by this waltz or that aria. In Australia, where he was massively popular, musicians and commentators lined up to tear him down. They called his music schmaltz, Muzak, cheap, songs from the Alps. An online forum for classical music enthusiasts featured posts calling him scum of the earth. The vitriol was breathtaking. But here's the thing. About Andre Rieu, he refused to be bitter. "I see a lot of jealousy around me," he said, his voice remarkably free of anger. "People say, 'Oh my God, he plays waltzes. And the money is coming in. But you have to realize it's a lot of hard work, too.'" He even took the criticism as a compliment. When someone called his shows schmaltzy, he responded, "I'm trying to create a Gesamtkonzept work where music, decor, and costumes all add up to a magical evening." Because that's what he was doing. Creating magic. Not for critics. Not for music snobs. For regular people who just wanted to feel something beautiful. Over the years, his concerts became legendary spectacles. Elaborate costumes. Ice rinks. Fairy tale castles. In 2007, he built a full-size reproduction of Vienna's Imperial Schönbrunn Palace. 125 meters wide, 30 meters deep, 35 meters high. The biggest stage ever to tour at that time. It only fit in the largest stadiums. And it bankrupted him 30-4 million euros in debt. After Australia, after everything, most people would have given up, scaled back, played it safe. Andre bounced back, because that's what he does. He bounces back. Today, the Johann Strauss Orchestra has up to 60 musicians. The largest private orchestra in the world. Completely privately owned and funded. His son Pierre works as vice president of Andre Rieu Productions. His other son Marc is a painter. It's become a true family business. The family that never came to see him play when it mattered most now lives through the success he built without them. Well, not his parents. They're gone now. And they never did come to a concert. He lives in a castle in Maastricht. The same castle where he took piano lessons as a child. He used to dream about owning it, filling it with chandeliers and paintings, living in it like something out of a storybook. And now he does. With Marjorie, still by his side after nearly 50 years of marriage, 2 sons, 5 grandchildren. When people ask him the secret to such a long, happy marriage, he says, 100% mutual trust. Sharing the same sense of humor, giving your partner every freedom he or she desires. He also admits something beautiful. "Without Marjorie, I would lie in the gutter." She rarely appears in public with him. She hates the spotlight. Hates being defined as Andre Rieu's wife. But behind the scenes, she's still there. Still choosing venues. Still creating tours. Still making the magic happen. March 24th, 2024. Mexico City. Andre had returned to Mexico after 6 years away. 6 sold-out concerts scheduled. The fans were ecstatic. The city was buzzing. But after his second performance, everything went wrong. An acute flu attack. Fever, complete exhaustion at 74 years old. His body was telling him something his spirit didn't want to hear. You can't do this forever. The last 4 concerts had to be canceled. Fans who'd waited years to see him were devastated. Just before it happened. In an interview, Andre had said something eerily prophetic. "I'm just trying to stay healthy so I can keep doing this for a long time." Maybe not in Mexico anymore, but still in all those other places. Hours later, he was on a plane home. His son Pierre later explained the brutal reality of touring at that age. Mexico City is 7,500 feet above sea level. Australia requires a 24-hour flight, followed by 10 hours of jet lag. When you're 74, your body doesn't recover like it used to. Andre slept for days when he got home. So did his young protege, Emma Koch, who'd been performing with him. There were whispers, rumors. Is this the end? Is the King of Waltz finally hanging up his violin? But then something remarkable happened. Something that shows you exactly who Andre Rieu really is. He got back up. Within weeks, he was performing again. UK concerts in Liverpool, Sheffield, Glasgow. Then back to tour schedules that would exhaust people half his age, and fake news started spreading online. Videos claiming he had a terminal illness, that he was saying goodbye to fans forever, that his family was grieving. It was all lies. AI-generated content designed to harvest clicks and views from worried fans. The truth: Andre Rieu is still touring, still performing, still bringing joy to hundreds of thousands of people every year. In 2025, he has over 76 concerts scheduled across 24 countries: Germany, Austria, Romania, Ireland, the UK. He's playing the O2 Arena, the Ziggo Dome, venues that hold tens of thousands of people at 75 years old. He's not slowing down. He's not fading away. He's still the biggest touring classical artist in the world. In my head, I'm 25, he says with that irrepressible smile. I think that's the art of growing older. In your head, you stay young. So what really happened to Andre Rieu? At 75, with billions of YouTube views, 10 million Facebook followers, over 40 million albums sold, and more than 500 platinum awards, Andre Rieu has nothing left to prove. But he's still out there, still playing, still spreading joy, because that little boy who fell in love with the waltz never stopped believing, even when nobody else did, even when his own parents turned away, even when the critics said he was ruining classical music. He just kept playing, and the world danced along. So the next time someone tells you that your dreams aren't serious enough, or your passion isn't legitimate, or your joy somehow diminishes the art, remember Andre Rieu. Remember the boy whose father said, "I didn't educate you to do waltzes." Remember the man who turned that rejection into a worldwide phenomenon? Remember that sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living your truth and bringing as many people along for the ride as you possibly can. What do you think about Andre Rieu's incredible journey? Have you ever seen him perform live? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Luminoir for more untold stories of the world's most fascinating figures.